10 minutes. In the event you exhaust your argument under 10 minutes, you should yield the ground to other members.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I want to go straight to the point and from the outset declare that I support the motion. And I want to thank most profusely the initiator of the motion, the Honorable Jack Wamboka, and state that Jack Wamboka, history will be very kind to you. In the fullness of time, when the history of this parliament or of this country is written, you will for sure have something. If not a paragraph, a sentence, at least a footnote for what you've done for the country today. And let me say this, Honorable Speaker, that listening keenly to the submission by Honorable Wamboka and having scrutinized into detail the documents that have been presented, the annexures, and so on and so forth, I am more than convinced that the Cabinet Secretary, the Honorable Linturi, has actually fallen short of the requirements of the Constitution as a holder of a public office. And indeed, the Honorable Jack Wamboka has clearly drawn a linkage between the conduct of Honorable Linturi and the grounds outlined under Article 152. And Article 152, sub-Article 4A, if I'm not wrong. Article 152, sub-Article 6, the three grounds upon which a Cabinet Secretary may be subjected to a motion such as this one, Honorable Speaker. And I won't belabor the point. The Honorable Speaker, let me start by saying, again, that the conduct of the Cabinet Secretary as captured, as depicted in the submission by Honorable Wamboka, as depicted, as captured in the documents that have been attached to the motion, clearly point to a situation where the CS has gone against the national values and principles of governance under Article 10, and specifically Article 10, sub-Article 2C. That is national values and principles of governance, including good governance, integrity, transparency, and accountability, among other things. Honorable Speaker, a person holding the office of a Cabinet Secretary is not a small person. The Constitution under Article 152 provides for the Cabinet, and we all know the composition of the Cabinet. And the Cabinet Secretary is a member of the Cabinet under Article 152. Honorable Speaker, the Constitution goes further. Under Article 152, sub-Article 4A, that each person appointed as a Cabinet Secretary assumes office by swearing or affirming faithfulness to the people and the Republic of Kenya and obedience to the Constitution, and so on and so forth. But it goes further at Article 153, it goes further, Honorable Speaker, at Article 153, sub-Article 2, to state that CSS are accountable individually and collectively to the President for the exercise of their powers and the performance of their functions. Why am I saying this, Honorable Speaker? That a motion for impeachment, such as this one, is indeed a tool of the last resort all over the world, in all mature democracies, parliaments such as this one resort to impeachment motions, impeachment processes, as an action of last resort. Because the Constitution provides for avenues through which a CS can vacate office under the Constitution. One of them is through dismissal by the appointing authority. Another one is by resignation. The third one is through this process of impeachment. Honorable Speaker, the appointing authority and Honorable Linturi could have saved the time of this House and indeed the country by doing what is necessary. Honorable Linturi by now should have actually voluntarily resigned. Failure to do so, Honorable Speaker, the appointing authority, who is the President of the Republic of Kenya, should have taken the action, the most logical action, and fired Honorable Linturi. But because both Linturi and the President have failed to do what the Constitution requires them to do, this House has got a duty, therefore, under the Constitution, to take the action that it is currently contemplating taking by sending this Cabinet Secretary home, Honorable Speaker. I have looked at the issues which have been raised, Honorable Speaker. It sounds like something from Hollywood, Honorable Speaker. You may think you are watching a movie, that a whole Cabinet Secretary can storm the premises of a private company, that is Kells Chemicals Limited, and direct, in fact, attempt to frog march the management of the company to go and participate in a press conference at the premises of NCPB and take responsibility over something that the Cabinet Secretary is culpable, directly culpable. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, food production, the matter of food security, and I wish honorable members would listen to me. The matter of food security and food production generally is a matter that touches directly on national security. And therefore, any time, any moment, there is evidence of tampering with the production of food in this country, what's happening? By way of supplying substandard or fake farm inputs, including fertilizer, Honorable Speaker. In some countries, you would be summarily executed. In some countries, if you are suspected of having been involved in jeopardizing food security of a country, of a nation, you would actually be summarily executed in the public. But we are lucky we have got a functioning constitution and we are governed by the rule of law. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, this is not a small matter. This is not a light matter. This is not a matter of politics. This is not about Kenya Kwanza or Azimio. It can't be. And this is not about Jack Wamboka. It is about the survival, the very survival of this country. It is about the very survival of this country. Honorable Speaker, countries that are food deficient, history has recorded, have been prone to coups and counter coups and civil upheavals. And therefore, anybody attempting to jeopardize food production is inviting us as a country to go that direction. A hungry country, a hungry populace is a very, very dangerous populace. You cannot govern it. You cannot govern a hungry population. They can rise up against you anytime and overthrow you. So the Cabinet Secretary and his acolytes are directly responsible for attempting to subvert food production in this country. Honorable Speaker, can you imagine that the NCPB, and don't tell me that the CS doesn't get involved in the procurement by NCPB. That's when you can tell the birds. Everybody who lives in this country knows how government works. The National Cereals and Produce Board is a government entity. It's a parastatal within the Ministry of Agriculture, under the supervision of the CS for Agriculture. How on earth did NCPB procure hundreds of thousands of bags of NPK fertilizer from a briefcase company? A briefcase company by going by the name MEMS Distributors Limited. A company that has had no history of dealing with fertilizer. Then MEMS goes ahead and approaches Kale Chemicals Limited to manufacture for it the fertilizer for its supply to NCPB. What happens? Kales manufactures and supplies to MEMS only 69,000 bags of the NPK fertilizer, 10, 16, 10. But then what happens again? MEMS distributors proceeds to supply NCPB with over 400,000 bags. So the question is, where did MEMS distributors and NCPB get the extra hundreds of thousands of bags of this fertilizer? Where? From where? And then it turns out that these extra bags of fertilizer are the ones that were actually stones. What have you? Stones, gravel, sand, and donkey waste, I'm told. So somebody is basically sabotaging the very, very survival of this country. And the cabinet secretary cannot feign ignorance. Because if he feigns ignorance, then he is not fit to hold that office. Then he's unfit. Then he's incompetent. How? But then NCPB goes ahead and pays for this fertilizer, this fake fertilizer. I may call it air, because farmers would never use it anyway. NCPB rushes to pay for this fertilizer. It basically tells you that somebody powerful was pulling the strings behind the scenes. That is the point. Somebody even more powerful was pulling the strings behind the scenes. So the cabinet secretary cannot absolve himself from accountability on this matter. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, even more intriguing, as we are told that investigations are being conducted by the relevant investigative agencies. And we are also being told here by my friend, the chairman of JLAC and Owen Bayer, that the Committee on Agriculture is also seized of the matter, that we wait for the outcome of their investigations or inquiries. And yet, NCPB goes ahead to decree that it is embarking on a scheme to compensate farmers who purchase the fake fertilizer. Then you ask yourself, where are they getting the money from? This House, to the best of my recollection, did not authorize any such expenditure. Did not. Where did NCPB get the authority and the money to compensate farmers? Yet, even before the investigations are complete, do we even know how much was this fake fertilizer as we speak? Do we know? We don't know. We don't know. Honorable Speaker, from what I know, and you know, my Honorable Speaker, I have a lot of information. From what I know is that what we are being told is just but the tip of the iceberg. When the full extent of this fertilizer scandal is exposed, you will be shocked. It will be worse than Goldenberg scandal. What we are being told is just but the tip of the iceberg. And you know, Honorable Speaker, in my capacity as leader of the MIO, this side, I am privy to a lot of information. In fact, information just comes to me. I don't go looking for information. And I've got a file for each of these ministers and the PSS. Let me tell you, even if this House attempts to allow Linturi to go scot-free, in the fullness of time, each and every person who is involved in this racket will have a date with their destiny.
Your time is up. I told you you had 15 minutes. 30 seconds.
Let me just say that I support this motion, and I want to appeal to all my colleagues. Let's just send a message home, regardless of our political affiliation, today, by sending these CAs home. That will actually earn us a lot of respect as an institution of parliament. Let's for once allow this process to get to the select committee to undertake proper investigation and inquiry at the hearings, Honorable Speaker. With those very many remarks, I support.
Mary Wamaua. I see you on the screen. You seem to be unprepared. Malulu Njendi, you've keyed in and you...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I